A lot of nursing leadership roles require, or at least strongly prefer, a Master of Science in Nursing. But if you don't have your MSN yet, do you really need to go back to school before you get yourself into a leadership role? Hey there, I'm Jared. I've spent more than half of my nursing career in leadership roles, and I got my MSN a few years ago. In this video, I'm going to explain why getting into leadership before you go back to school is likely the better move for most people, and when you actually do need to have the degree first. So by now, you already know that a lot of nursing leadership positions list the MSN as at least a preferred qualification. And that's generally for two reasons. First off, actually the degree does teach valuable skills. So an MSN that's focused in leadership and management is going to teach you things you need as a leader, and having it on your resume shows or signals that you have that expertise. The second thing is that if your hospital or organization is a magnet organization, magnet does require, or at least strongly encourage, all nurse managers to have at least a BSN, and it encourages higher percentages to have at least an MSN or higher. So there are incentives in place for organizations to seek out the MSN in their candidates. So more often the MSN is functioning as like a filter on the candidate pool than like a measure of your leadership ability. But just because it's listed on the job posting does not mean it should be a showstopper, because there's actually other ways you can learn the relevant skills to be an effective leader. Because while it's true that the degree provides a convenient signal that you have certain knowledge, it's not a guarantee, and any good employer or hiring manager already knows that, especially in leadership roles. Cultural fit, philosophy, and character are 1,000 times more important than credentials. Because if you strip the degree away, what a manager or a hiring manager is really looking for when they're hiring a leader is, can I trust this person with pressure, with people, with problems that need to be solved? That's the question they're trying to answer. So you need to be able to demonstrate through the hiring process, this includes your resume, the interview, etc., that you have the aptitudes, things like working with and motivating teams. Really important is that you're comfortable dealing with conflict, because, newsflash, if you want to be a leader, you are signing up for conflict. So you got to be comfortable with that and be able to speak to that, particularly in like the stories you tell in an interview. Like, can you show that you can navigate conflict well and that you're comfortable in those situations? Third is that you can be organized and follow through on things. Obviously, that's important for leaders, and this is going to show up more often kind of in the peripherals to the interview process, like how you communicate and schedule and showing up on time and all that stuff. You want to project that you got it together. The fourth thing, of course, is your communication. And this is obviously the performance in the interview is big for this, but also your written communication, your emails that lead up to the interview and around it. Are you professional and clear and concise in those communications? This also includes your kind of overall presence in the room. What you're aiming for is projecting a level of confidence with humility. You don't want to come across as arrogant, but you also don't want to come across as sheepish, like, I don't know if I belong here, especially if you're already a little insecure about not having the degree. Be confident in the skills you do have, but don't let it bleed over into arrogance. The final thing is being able to articulate your philosophy. This is important because you need to be aligned with the people that you're going to be reporting to, especially on the key leadership kind of aptitudes and tasks that you're going to be asked to do, which is like motivating people. Improving performance of individuals and a team. How do you go about that? What's your thought process? How would you attack a certain, objective that way? And managing change, getting people to do things they may not want to do. And so you have to be able to articulate your thinking on that. So if you can do that clearly, that's going to improve your chances. Because those things, all of those things that I just listed, are keys to being an effective leader, regardless of your credentials. Has nothing to do with your school or certifications. It's all skills that you have. So you might know that, but why not just hedge your bets and go back to school now before you're in leadership? Well, because real life is the best classroom. Just like in clinical practice, so much of leadership is situational and can't be taught from a textbook. The earlier you can jump in with both feet, that means the earlier you start learning. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have to face the kinds of problems that leaders have to deal with, and that's all gonna help you learn more faster. You're also gonna find that you get more out of the classes you take when you go back for your MSN. And that's because if you go back to school without being in leadership, a lot of what you learn is going to be like abstract, and it's going to have no context to it. And you'll be like, why is this important? Why do I care? But when you're already in leadership, you know what you care about. And suddenly you're like, these are problems that I really do need skills for. And I understand where my weaknesses are. And you can start applying it immediately, which helps you retain it, and it's going to help improve the depth of your learning. So you get more out of it all around if you're already in the situations that you need to use those skills and that information. So don't let the lack of a graduate degree hold you back from seeking out a leadership role unless you're in one very specific situation, which is you are applying on the open job market. It's not a promotion situation. And the position is very specific in listing the MSN as a minimum requirement. Because what's going to happen here is you will get screened out by either the applicant tracking system or the recruiters. And you won't even get a chance to talk to a person or demonstrate your leadership aptitudes. It's literally like the degree is the ticket that's getting you in the door. So if you find yourself in that circumstance, you're better off looking for a position where the MSN is not listed as a minimum requirement, or seeking out a promotion internally in the organization you're already in, because in that case, you might already have a relationship with the hiring manager, or at least they might have some awareness of you, and you'll have a better chance of being able to demonstrate those leadership aptitudes without needing the degree as a proxy for those skills. So here's the big takeaway. For most nurses, leadership experience first, then the MSN is the better path. You build real skills, you build credibility, and when you do go back to school, you're going to get a lot more out of that degree. There are, of course, situations where you do need the degree before you even start. And often that's like an external application where you don't have any connection in that organization. But not having the MSN yet shouldn't hold you back from pursuing leadership. And if you're still trying to figure out if like leadership is even the next best step for you, I have another video over here where I talk about how to know if you're ready for a leadership role. So check it out. And if you're seriously considering nursing leadership, I'm building a whole series around this, practical, real-world guidance for stepping into a leadership role and managing that transition. So consider subscribing to the channel so you get that content as I release it. And I'd love to hear from you. Are you considering leadership? Are you already in a leadership role? Do you have an MSN or not? What's the value that you're getting out of that? Leave a comment below and I will see you in the next one.